My name is Jonathan King, and I hope you've been enjoying the past 30 shows as I've driven all the way from London through France and Spain to Morocco, Marrakesh, then back up again through Spain, through France, and now into Italy, where I'm happily in Rome. Rather sad news today. One of the writers of the song that was made into the best, from my opinion, the greatest record ever made, You've Lost That Loving Feeling, Cynthia Weil, died this week, aged 82. You never close your eyes anymore when you kiss my lips. I think that's one of the great lyrics and the great songs of all time. Originally, of course, done by the Righteous Brothers and produced by the mighty Phil Spector. I suspect that this version of mine of You've Lost That Loving Feeling will not really get as much appreciation as the Righteous Brothers' Phil Spector work of genius did. But Phil Spector loved my version, and I thought it was really different and interesting. So while we take a look at some of the shops and the food in Rome, I give you, ladies and gentlemen, rest in peace, Cynthia Weil, your fabulous song, You've Lost That Loving Feeling.
You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips. And there's no tenderness like before in your fingertips. You're trying hard not to show it, but baby, you blew it, you know it. You've lost that loving feeling, oh that loving feeling. You've lost that loving feeling, now it's gone, 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 gone. Now there's no welcome look in your eyes when I reach for you. And girl, you're starting to criticize little things I do. It makes me just feel like crying, 'cause baby, there's something beautiful dying. You've lost that loving feeling, oh, oh yes, that loving feeling, oh, you lost that loving feeling, now it's gone, 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 oh. If you would only love me like you used to do. We had a love, the love you don't find every day. So don't let it slip away. Baby, say you feel it, baby. I need your love, bring back your love, bring back your love and feel it, baby. Bring back that love and feeling, oh. Bring back that love and feeling, oh. Bring back that love and feeling, now it's gone. Bring back that love and feeling, bring back that love and feeling, bring back that love and feeling, now it's gone. Bring back that love and feeling, bring back that love and feeling, bring back that love and feeling, baby. It's gone. Bring back that love and feeling, bring back that love and feeling, bring back that love and feeling, it's gone. You got to say the love and feeling, baby. You know I need your love and feeling, baby. I can't live without your love and feeling, baby. Can't go on, it's gone. Bring back that love and feeling. Bring back that love and feeling. Bring back that love and feeling. It's gone. Bring back that love and feeling. Bring back that love and feeling.
R.I.P. Cynthia Wilde. Yes, as you may guess, although I've had quite a lot of hits, lucky enough to have quite a lot of hits of all different sorts, including instrumentals, but my main love is lyrics. As far as songwriting is concerned, my melodies are always rather average, I think, or sound like something else, whereas my lyrics tend to be original and quite unusual. That was very significant with my first hit, Everyone's Gone to the Moon, which fascinated a lot of people who were making lyrics like She Loves You, Yeah, 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 whereas a few people, myself, Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, and of course the protest movement. Remember Eve of Destruction by Barry Maguire? P.F. Sloan wrote that. There was this movement of rather more interesting lyrics, quite often protest, but also really good lyrics that covered normal things. You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips, and there's no tenderness in the touch of your fingertips. Yes, anyway, great lyrics. I remember once I was interviewing Smokey Robinson of the Miracles and said to him, as a songwriter, I felt he was one of the great songwriters of all time. Just listen to the lyrics of The Tears of a Clown or The Tracks of My Tears. Fantastic stuff. I really don't want you thinking that I spend 4 months of the summer and 2 months in the winter just swimming for 5 hours a day, lying on the sand, getting a suntan. I do lots more besides, and anyway, that doing that does keep my mind active. I remember I was in a swimming pool in one of my hotels, and there were an elderly couple, and obviously their grandchildren of about 4 and 6, a little boy of 4 and a little girl of 6, and after I did my 5-hour swimming, the little boy said to me, why are you swimming for so long? And I said, well, it's very good exercise, all parts of my body. And he said, isn't it boring? All this in French, by the way. And I said, no, not at all, actually. I think great thoughts while I'm doing it. Anyway, the next day I arrived down there, grandparents are there, and they said, no children. They said, we need to thank you. Our grandchildren would not swim until after you said why you swam, and they then spent the whole of the rest of the day swimming. And when they came out and I said to the little boy, or this is a grandmother, I said, wasn't it rather boring? And he said, no, I was thinking great thoughts. So I do a lot of thinking as well as a lot of swimming. A very interesting phenomenon is taking place at the moment. We see Donald Trump suddenly indicted for all sorts of crimes, which to me were stupid, silly little technicalities. Taking papers home he shouldn't have taken home and keeping them in his home storage when he really shouldn't have done. Okay, people make mistakes, who cares? Everybody takes papers home. It's a stupid little thing, but it's part of the whole thing that people are trying to get rid of Donald Trump. Why? Because he's an individual and he does things in his own way and he doesn't obey the conventional rules, which in many ways is a good thing. As it happens, I can't stand Trump. All of his policies, almost all of them, are complete opposite to what I feel, but I still think he's being treated abominably, and I suspect the public feel the same way. Every time something like this happens, more and more of them, the more likely it is, I think, that he'll be re-elected president next time around. Boris Johnson, just out on his ear even as an MP because of the whole stupid Partygate thing, which again was just ridiculous. Stupid laws about COVID brought in a panic that meant nothing anyway. Everybody breached them to a sort of degree. It really didn't matter. Yes, of course you mislead Parliament or even sometimes lie to Parliament. It's sometimes necessary when you're a leader. Look at what's happening to Imran Khan in India. Individuals who actually are not obeying the rules of the system but are trying to do things differently. Whether or not you like and agree with them, I'm really not a Johnson fan in any way either. I tend to be much more, I really supported Jeremy Corbyn, who I thought was a decent man with honourable intentions. Again, I didn't agree with a lot of his policies and philosophies. In fact, if he'd become Prime Minister, he'd have taken most of my savings away from me, I suspect. But I still thought he was a decent man, so was John McDonnell, and I thought they were both trying to do a good job. But no, the establishment and Parliament and all politicians, but mainly, of course, the media, turned against them. And that was what was interesting with the Corbyn thing, that whole anti-Semitic thing, which was complete bollocks in my opinion. The man was no more anti-Semitic than he was anti-anything else. He happened to be rather pro-Palestinian, which I do think is a very good point of view too, and a little bit anti some of the things that Israelis do, which also is a good thing. But I have to say, that's not anti-Semitic. Anyway, what can you do? But what's interesting is I noticed that all this new method of getting rid of people is what happened to me 23 years ago when Max Clifford stepped in, I suspect on behalf of a couple of disgruntled EMI executives, to stop me taking the job as global chairman of EMI. I've discussed this in an earlier show, as you well know. But it was quite interesting. What he did was he used the false allegations industry to get rid of me. Indeed, to get me arrested and prosecuted and convicted of crimes that never took place. Just by twisting the little trivial things around a little bit and making things look as though they were different from what they may have been at the time. This kind of thing is going on relentlessly. We discussed Philip Schofield, and I think it's the way that everybody is going to be brought down, be they heads of large companies or charities suffering from Me Too moments, and executives and stars and celebrities and TV personalities, but politicians, leaders of parties and so on. Just watch, it's going to get far, far worse before it starts to get better. Anyway, as I have a quick nibble, I thought I'd dedicate the next track to Boris Johnson, Donald Trump, indeed Berlusconi, who just passed away here in Italy. how I suspect they've all lost their virginity, the sickly sweet odour of old rotting teeth.
I woke up this morning and looked at her face. Boy, was I drunk last night, what a disgrace. Her physical defects were legion beneath the sickly sweet odour of old rotting teeth. I gave up my boyhood when day became night, and I had to get stoned so that I'd do it right. I came to a man with a sense of relief and the sickly sweet odour of old rotting teeth. I saw the grey hairs poking under the wig and winced at the sores on the face of a pig. In her hand was a virgin she held like a thief to the sickly sweet odour of old rotting teeth. I ran to the bathroom to scrub off my woes and escape from the tinea that rose from her toes. As I polished away a ring of confidence wreath, smelt the sickly sweet odour of my own rotting teeth. Oh, 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 I'm a man today.
It's really very odd. The world is changing. Suddenly you get bursts of rain, which is going on at the moment. And of course, Silvio Berlusconi has passed away, aged I think only 84 or something. That's just a couple of years older than me. And I'm reading in the papers William Hague writes a very bright assessment of Boris Johnson, but happens to be, I think, entirely wrong. Or whilst he condemns Johnson for being a buffoon, which in many ways he is, and praises him for many of the qualities Johnson has, he fails to notice that actually what Johnson has been, and Trump is, and so many other leaders are, and Berlusconi was, is somebody who knows how to use the media. And in many cases they get away with it, and the public rather like them getting away with it. That's just what's going on with Trump at the moment. The more people try and get rid of him, the more people like him. I have to admit, I'd probably vote for Trump if I was an American, not because I agreed with any of his policies, but because I rather respected the fact that he's fighting the establishment and the media and winning. Anyway, that's all for now. See you next time.